lights in the trees, a trick of the frost, a ghost on the breeze. But I saw a mirror older than me, staring through time like it wanted to speak. The forest went silent, the world held its breath. Something was watching beyond life and death. We stepped through the green, boots breaking the seal, not chasing a light, but something too real. I came back with salt on my skin, my mind split wide where the storm got in. They call it a test, but I know the deal. History blinks beneath the green veil.
And good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the preview review show of the Green Veil. John, how are you tonight?
Good. How are you?
Good. Chris is at an event in Florida, so he'll be joining us again next week. So I want to also say hello to everybody that's watching and listening on all the broadcast platforms. John, and I know we had this conversation a little bit before we started the show. I've been really analyzing, especially the last couple of chapters. And I'm literally telling you, I would lay on my couch and just listen to the audio of the shows and just try to absorb everything that's going on and try to get a better handle of what I think is going on or what may be coming, because we only have a few more weeks left till this is done. Chapter 22 airs on December 24th, Christmas Eve. And I hear the word convergence a lot, and frequency, resonance, and thunder is striking over my house. That's bizarre this time of year. And I'm trying to figure out like where this is going. And I don't know if I'm going to be right. And I think there's other people that are doing the similar things that I'm doing right now, trying to figure out how to put this all together. And it's also, I think what's going on in this time distortion bubble is also a rift in time, showing all the things that have gone on in the Earth's history, and it's broken. There are things that happened that simply were broken in history. Maybe the erasure of past civilizations that we don't have no memory of, things that went on in our past, it's all about the Earth's harmony with the creation on the planet, and how we have lost touch with that creator. And it can be a combination, convergence of the science technology that was present and also of faith. Both can be true. Both can come together as one. And I think we experienced a lot of power, corruption of power, manipulation of control, everything that goes on. And then we factor in the non-human intelligence aspect of this moving forward, and how that is a threat to our human existence. That is a direct threat. So am I on the right track with this? I mean, it seems like there was a purpose to what happened in Rendlesham. And based on this story, there's a purpose to it. It's to fix, to repair, to remember, to do everything we can to reharmonize everything for everyone as a whole, so that we can evolve as a species further, and to prevent another broken, serious part that could happen in the future with the threat of AI, NHI, etc. Am I wrong, or tell me where I'm wrong and where I may be right?
Well, okay. I laid the premise of the story out, and it's based on everything that I learned from the event, all the people that showed up, all the things that were stated behind the scenes, not publicly. A lot of it's public now, but it's not so much public about the event. It's about what's going on. But if you go back and you look at history, which, by the way, let's talk about history. Our society, a section of our society is trying to erase history. They're trying. That's not being taught in school anymore. They're trying to just take it off the map. And if you don't remember your past, you can never learn from your mistakes or what went right and how to move from the present going forward. Rendlesham, there's a lot of things that have come out about it that have been people have fought over. I mean, who was there, what their involvement was, the binary code, the glyphs. Then these people that showed up, put off Green, Nolan, Kelleher, the interest from the Bigelow Group, the what's going on with UAPs now, how they changed it from UFO to UAP, and most people haven't grasped why. Most people think it was just easier to hide documents. In actuality, what this group did is identify an area called unidentified area phenomenon that they've been studying. They know it's real, it's intelligent in nature, and it affects things. And one of the things that was clear, if you go back, all you have to do go back to culture, like the Hopi, the natives. As they call this, where we live, the New World. The old world was over in Europe, right? Well, the old world came over and dominated and destroyed the culture of the New World, and they took it over, and they eliminated most of the ancient beliefs and way the native culture was. They locked them up on reservations. They took away, their beliefs, their religions. Then they turned around and tried to go around the world and dominate other cultures and other religions too. So then you have the way back, it was more based on faith. Then you go forward to now, science is dominating. I mean, just with AI alone, and it's taking away our self-worth. It won't be long before, what are we here for? We'll be served by, we're just going to be here. We're not going to have to think. We're not going to have to do any of that. We're going to have a car drive us around. Everything we do is going to be done for us. We're not going to have to do any kind of critical thinking, which means that the AI itself, controlled by a small group of people, which already control a lot of things anyway, will dominate and control whatever society exists, as we evolve.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it is a direct threat to our humanity. You even hear about the transhumanist aspect of it, transitioning, prolonging life by whatever means to make that happen. But it takes away. What about our spirit? What about our soul? What about our essence, our life essence? And like you said, the more we're dependent on AI, the non-human intelligence aspect, it makes us less human and more dependent on that as a means to survive. I mean, what about our independent thought? Like you said, critical thinking, moving forward as a species, because eventually we're going to have to go off world. We're going to have to go off world. The planet will not exist forever. There's going to come a point where this planet becomes uninhabitable, where it may take us where we have to be. We got to go underground for whatever time being until we can find another suitable place for humanity to exist further. So there's a lot of implications, but I don't see why you can't look at science and the religious aspect, regardless of what it is. Faith, it's a very strong, tangible force, and both can be coexist and be true. The advancements of technology. And
Bill, but faith dominates how we're supposed to live. Science has changed how we live. Faith is supposed to govern how we live, what we are, and how we're supposed to treat each other, and live our lives.
But that's the morality and the principle of it.
Yeah, but it's still part of it, and it's being taken away. I mean, robot is just, it's like Star Trek was with Spock. There's no emotion involved.
Yeah.
It's just logic. It's just, this is the way it's going to be. Problem is, they're already having problems with weapon systems because humanity, at least some of it, still has some consciousness on how they want to do things, even in war. And if you look at the way AI will look at it, it'll just be, we're here to win. And it doesn't matter how how we win, what we destroy, what we do, and AI doesn't have any worries. AI doesn't worry about whether it'll exist now. And like, in other words, if AI thought it was going to lose, it would probably drop a nuclear bomb.
But what if AI taps into our consciousness or vice versa?
Well, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to take our consciousness and put it in AI, because AI is self-learning, and it's out of control. They're having trouble with it. I mean, there's stories out there. You just have to look at the robotics. In Japan, there was an attack. The robots turned on the humans.
And not only that, the Chinese launched their first attack, cyber attack, using AI.
Yeah.
Like on a new level. I did that recently. So yes, the AI is becoming really. I don't want to be an alarmist, but it is becoming a dangerous.
Well, that's what Star Trek. If you were a Trekkie, and even Star Wars, the computers controlled it. The ships were controlled by the computers. The weapon systems were controlled by the computers, and it was whoever had the faster computer was basically who was winning. And that's a lot of this has changed now for two reasons: for quantum, and then also we're getting really good at making our energy sources smaller and smaller, so we can generate the energy necessary to drive the computers and to control everything. Then you have to throw the fact in NHI, non-human intelligence, is there. I mean, that's what the UAP is.
I was going to ask you that. That's funny you mentioned that. I was going to ask you. So do you think that this is something that is not okay? We may have somehow reverse engineered, back engineered, however you want to put the terminology, into something that is a UAP source.
The movie coming out, Day of Disclosure, that they wanted me in and I wasn't going on. They just the producer was just on Brett Baer Friday night on Fox. Oh, I know a lot of UFO people don't believe in Fox and everything, but they interviewed the guy, and he basically, his theme for that 10-minute interview was, "This is being weaponized," which is exactly what I said in 2020. Weaponization of UAPs, which is all my FOIAs have been based on and everything else.
But wait, time out before you continue your thought, and I don't mean to interrupt you. But isn't that always the objective of the military-industrial complex? Is when they get this advanced technology, breakthrough technology, the first application is military.
Well, yeah, but I mean, the point being is that they never admitted it till now. They've got 35 people allegedly. I don't know who they all are. Some of them are the regular players. There's other government people that have come out and said, we're in a race like the Manhattan Project. Whoever learns how to utilize this technology the best will control the world for the next 100 years. They basically said in the interview and the clips was, the Manhattan Project allowed the United States to control the world for the last 90 plus years. And this next race of technology is what's going to dictate what we do for the next 100. Well, the thing is that there's something that they're not talking about, which I was one of the first ones to talk about it. Not the first, but one of the first, is we are going to evolve. We are no longer going to need the human container. We will no longer need to be a biological being quicker than most people realize.
But what does that incorporate?
The consciousness will no longer need to be inside our body. So we'll live as an energy being. And that's part of what I talk about in this series and came out into my hypnosis and everything else. And the bloodlines are key to this, because the bloodlines go back to the ancient, which was here, that for whatever reason, we had to have a human container to evolve, but it's going to change.
I've heard that theory, though, in the past, that eventually, as we evolve, we will turn to a consciousness light being type.
Yes, that's exactly what's going to happen. Star Trek was the one that first started talking about it way back. Yes. But that's where we're going. The consciousness, we're in a race. That's why they're trying. They don't want AI to take over everything. That's why they're trying to figure out how to use. Either they're going to put it in the AI, or they're going to be still the mind. There's people that can control the AI with their mind, like Star like Stargate was.
So, because you mentioned Bigelow earlier, amongst the
Yeah.
others, and Bigelow. So Bigelow was part of the Rendlesham, indirectly, directly. I wasn't aware that he was a part of that.
Well, there's some things that are coming out right now, Bill, that you may not be aware of, and usually know most things. They've exposed some stuff that's gone on with what Nolan was doing with DNA. And then another person's come out. There was a private group that the key players have always been in on. And they've got evidence now that this whole thing was thought of way back with Bigelow. And this whole narrative is being driven by Bigelow and the NIDS and all that other stuff to move forward. But like I said way back when To the Stars came out, they're going to control the narrative.
Of course they are.
Well, let me phrase it. They're going to try to control the narrative. And this day of disclosure, guess who the lead person that is in it?
Age of disclosure, who?
Oh, it's Marco Rubio. He's the one. He's interviewed in this. They showed 3 clips of him alone, and he's now the Secretary of State. And he was on the highest committee, the Defense Committee, the Intelligence Committee inside the Senate, and he was on the Gang of 8. So this is all evolving, and never mind, you got to throw 3-Eye Atlas into this, because I mean, we can ignore it. I mean, the government refuses to talk about it, or governments, but there's strange things going on with this object, and it's triggering things with the sun and everything else, which is affecting Earth.
Before we get to that, I want to dig a little deeper with this connection, because Bigelow has always been tied to doing contracting work for the government. At Rendlesham, I know that we've discussed this in the past, that they had equipment there to set up this test, to test a weapon there. Whether you were involved by intention or accidental, that may be another question in itself. But it's everything that was going on at Rendlesham. And you say Bigelow. I wonder, is that why Bigelow was so interested in Skinwalker?
Well, if you follow the story of Bigelow, he lost his son, and he wanted to connect to him out there and stuff. That was his first reason. Besides, he was in the defense industry, the space industry. But he went into this, and he started bringing people like Edgar Mitchell, Kit Green, Hal Puthoff, Eric Davis, all these guys that have worked in this technologies areas. These guys were fringe technology 25 years ago. This was the think tanks looking at the future, concluding what Stargate was, and a lot of this came from the Russians were doing it.
But this was not their first rodeo, Rendlesham. Was it? The
first rodeo for those guys was MK Ultra. That was the first rodeo.
Give us a little background for those who may not be familiar with that.
MK Ultra was what they were doing to manipulate people's minds. They were using it. They were seeing how they could manipulate people to not remember things, go on keywords and everything, so they could actually put a thought in their mind, and then later on activate them, or they could hide, or they could activate a word, could activate. So that
Manchurian candidate, so to speak.
Yeah, it's like a Manchurian candidate, right? And they got busted for it. They got caught for it, and then they covered it up, and then they moved it over to Beltwaters. They moved it over to Rendlesham. It all got transferred over to Marconi, and the United States companies were involved too. Yeah, so what they did was
Long Island Montauk project.
Montauk, the equipment at Montauk. Guess where it ended up?
Where?
It got moved over.
Rendlesham?
Right outside the back gate. We went out there and went to the sites, and the engineer I was with identified all the equipment that was at Montauk. The skeletons of what was left of it was about over right outside in the Rendlesham Forest, right out there. It was not Skinwalker, but the nest, Orford Nest. All the equipment that they were working on in the States when they got busted got all moved over there to the forest area.
So do you think that there is a connection between these incidents that happen at various nuclear sites, or that may contain something related to nuclear, that they were doing these tests? Because you know where I'm referring to, the Maelstrom and some other.
Yeah. Well, I can't. There was Marx generators where we were at. There was Marx generators at these nuclear sites. Okay, and Marx generators started with Tesla, and one of the that was the one of the original generators as they evolved it was what was used with the Philadelphia experiment.
Right.
But guess what? It's still classified. I have been in an ongoing battle for 6 months with the MOD, and they will not give up 1 inch of paperwork on what they know, what they've done with those generators and UAPs and everything else.
Do you think, and there's all kinds of projects, paperclip, there's so many different that we can refer to, but do you think that the Germans were actively pursuing this technology? Because we hear the Gluck, the Bell, all that stuff. Do you think that?
Yeah, the Germans were, those scientists were the leading, those were the people, half of them went to Russia, half of them went to the United States. The United States went more conventional weapons. The Russians were doing conventional, but they were going more into the exotic weaponry. The engineers that they had, all you have to do is go look at a book by the name of, his name was Lieutenant Colonel Bearden. All you have to do is go back and look up him. He started understanding what was going on with the Russians and what they were working on. And then he warned the United States, which then Andy Marshall got involved, and he started the Office of Net Assessment, which now has been disbanded by Trump, believe it or not. It was disbanded in May. It was closed down. But technically it was, but I was told it wasn't. My guy that worked in it. And so they had to play catch up, and that's when Puthoff got involved with Stargate and SRI. So SRI goes back to Gary Nolan now with the DNA, with the study of the brain. SRI has been neck deep in this forever. They were involved in the Rendlesham incident, and all those people go right to Bigelow and the money that he got from our government. That whatever that project was called, I think it was NIDS or whatever. There were different projects that got funded, and I forget which the last one was from that they got, where the senator from Nevada got him some money. And they were studying Skinwalker Ranch and the phenomenon there, and they've been looking at that type of technology for a long time. These are the guys that know the most about it, and it's coming.
You also mentioned, and I know we're going to get into some of the aspects of the sun and what a lot of people are wondering, did Atlas have anything to do with these X flares that affected? We had, I seen it beautifully here in New York midweek, what was going on with the G4 severe storm. But before I get to that, you also touched on regression.
Yeah.
And that to me tells me that there were memories that were either purposely I don't know, it's crazy weather going on here right now, John. I hope I don't lose the connection, but suppressed, whether that was intentional or not, or was it due to the experience itself at Rendlesham and the information that was gathered during your regression, which I think is going to be coming out in an upcoming book, right?
Well, I'm not going to talk a lot about the hypnosis in the book, just because it's one of those things where the hypnosis was real. It was very strange what came out. It happened in '88, the first session.
Who conducted it?
It was a police officer in Los Angeles. He was a hypnotherapist. He did that for the police department. His name was Al Ward. I think he's finally passed. He was already in his 60s, I think, when he did it. And I think he's passed. He was getting pretty old about 5 or 6 years ago when I talked to him last time.
But you have the entire, do you have the entire regression sessions?
Yes.
Session.
I have the one he did, and I have the one that was done in Phoenix later. Yes. I have them.
Okay. So, because we mentioned MK Ultra and some of the things that these individuals were involved with, do you think that, and I'm just going to ask you straight bluntly, was it the event that suppressed memories, or was it created artificially by someone that was interrogating you and they?
Well, The interesting thing is you'll have to take it for face value. What's been released in Conduit says a UAP can affect what you remember, how you remember it, and it manipulates the mind. And like the mind itself, like we've talked about this before, but I'll go back into it. The God's helmet, you can go look it up online. Persinger was involved with all this too, and so was Chuck Picaro that initially did the Rendlesham, the Bentwaters event for CNN. You can put something on your head, and it can manipulate and put frequencies into the brain, and it'll affect what you remember. You can actually, it's online. He did it with CNN. You can know what's going on in another room. You can actually see and communicate with the manipulation. And that was back in the 80s. So imagine how we've advanced now.
It can also be weaponized, like what happened with the Havana syndrome.
Yeah, but that was done differently. That was
I know, but I'm just saying on the flip side.
But the helmet for the F-35 is exactly that. That's how the pilot flies with the helmet, which it manipulates the mind. He controls the aircraft through his mind. Yeah. They won't talk about that, but it does.
Yeah, I think it's amazing when you think about what you all experienced there. And to me, it's been a suppression of information from the get-go in so many different areas of this field. But the thing that bugs me is when people say UAP, right away they correlate it to extraterrestrial. That's
but
you know what I mean. It's aliens.
Yeah, well, that was supposedly one of the excuses they changed it to UAP was to separate it from UFOs. But remember, the New York Times wrote the article and they bunched it in with UFOs. And I mean, there's a lot of people now that are coming out in Congress and stuff saying we should have kept it as a UFO. You know, but it's not. It's not. The thing is, what happened to Bentwaters, other than what Penniston and Klein saw, no one else saw an object or a craft. They all saw lights, you know, and stuff. The Maelstrom incident was all lights. It wasn't a craft. There was no beings like a biological being. The majority of the incidents that are reported aren't hard craft. There are incidents where there was craft. Right. But the majority of the stuff that's seen is not a craft. So it clearly needed to be separated, you know, and most likely from back in the 40s, it started with, you know, the whole thing with the Foo Fighters and all that with the UAP stuff. But the Germans were working on a real craft that could use gravitics. So probably the things that we're seeing with crafts were probably us. And the majority of the time, and these lights, you know, or UAPs or plasmas, whatever you want to call them, are actually the intelligence. And it is the life form. It is the self-contained life form. And they're using that, the plasmas and stuff, they're creating that effect to make it everything go stealth.
And we've been working with this technology for decades. This is not something that
started in the 40s. The Germans started it, and it's been growing since then. Yeah.
And you hear a lot of the talk about, oh, we can get to Mars in a few days rather than over a year if we go revolve around the planets and get.
The problem is the human body can't do it. They don't have. It's like if you go back and look.
Are you talking about the radiation or the G-forces?
Go back when radar first started, they didn't understand how it affected the body, and they didn't shield the people, and most people that were involved in early radar systems got sick. Right. A lot of them got cancer. A lot of them died.
Yes.
And then they figured out how to shield it. Right now, the problem is the biological body cannot. They don't have the ability to protect the body inside a craft to do that.
Yeah,
it has to be done remotely.
The Apollo missions also, that was something that became a big deal when they were talking about that, going through the belt and the radiation effects on the astronauts.
Well, I don't like to start a controversy, but I'm going to, okay? Because I got to know Jim Mars pretty well. And Jim Mars said two things that were clear. He said, the belt, we couldn't have survived. And he said, if we could have, all they had to do to prove that was take a capsule, create the radiation effect that would have happened, put two astronauts in there, the capsule, and prove that they could survive it. They could recreate the effect in a hangar, and they wouldn't do it. And the interesting thing, Bill, is what did we do the first time? We immediately set people into space. We did a monkey on the first circle, but after that, everything was done manned, right? They're not sending men to the moon right now. They're putting robots in it, and they're seeing the effects on the robots and the sensors on how it would affect the human body.
So you don't think Artemis 2 is going to do a mission that goes orbits the moon and comes back? You don't think that's going to happen?
No, that's what I mean. They're sending the first one that goes is going to be robots. They're going to have sensors on the robots to see how the belt affects the sensors, so they know how to protect the astronauts. We've already gone through the belt. Why do we need to learn any more? The technology we used in the 60s and early 70s, come on, we're super advanced now. And we had to learn each time we went up there and back the effects on the craft and everything else. Why then are we sending this stuff, not just sending astronauts? And why did we stop?
Maybe.
Well, I know. One of the things that Mars said was it wasn't going to be easy to hide that anymore. We advanced enough technology-wise, they couldn't fake it anymore.
But what if there's no need to put humans and we use AI?
Well, isn't that the whole idea? To create an area where we can inhabit? So,
I mean, if you think about it, we can have them do all the construction. I don't want to go into some far-fetched hypothetical sci-fi angle here, but if you had robotics do the engineering and the infrastructure instead of humans, and create these habitable things where we can then send the humans there to just occupy, I mean, that might be more of a rational way.
No, that's true. But the point being with Mars is, and my point I'm just trying to make.
Yeah, I was more referencing closer like to the moon first.
Yeah, but no, and in Mars, I get it. But the thing is, it takes a long time to go up there. The human body does not do well in space. The astronauts that have lived up in the space station don't come back, and it takes them a long time to get back, get healthy again. And that's just a short time. And to go anywhere out into deep space, I think they said Mars would be a one-way trip.
It is. I was just going to say it's a one-way trip.
If we can get through the belt.
That's
the thing that's always perplexed me. I don't really think we had the technology back then to get through the belt.
But we may now, though, John. We may now.
They're testing it. That's what I'm saying. They're sending spacecraft through the belt with robots in it, not humans.
Right. That makes sense. Yeah. It does
Yeah.
make sense.
So they're trying to figure out how to protect the human, or have they built the craft right and the suit right that'll protect the human? Well, why would they have to do that if we did it in the 70s?
Well, there may be new applications to test, new type of material, metals, alloys, etc., just to see how they're affected in real time. They always got to do that, and they got to spend money just to do it, just to say they did it.
Yeah, but this is being done commercially. So commercial people don't waste money. The government does, but they don't. So the point being is they're doing this for a reason, and I wonder if we ever did really go to the moon when they said we did. Maybe I'm not saying we didn't. There's some evidence to say otherwise. So my point being is we're lied to all the time about everything. And I think that this 3i Atlas is a bigger deal than they're letting on.
Again, lack of information coming from NASA. Really, really slow drip. It's like, okay, what's going on? Don't blame the shutdown anymore. I don't want to hear it. But from the things that I've been reading about, it seems like it really lost a lot of its mass. Like the thing just broke up when it neared the sun, and it exposed its nucleus, and that's why it's looking different when they're looking at it. But we just had so much geomagnetic storm activity. There was an X flare, and I'm not saying this is responsible, but just as when it was interacting on the other side, then this swings around, and we get all this activity coming from the sun, and it's affecting the Earth.
Well, but if you go back, just go back and Google it. They predicted when it went behind the sun, it would create this issue. That was put out by different scientists. and it went behind the sun, and
And it happened.
it triggered the sun, and we had these X flares. Now, I personally can say this because it happened to me that day of the big flares that even caught our government off guard, the scientists off guard. They were predicting like a 6 or a 7 at the max, and it ended up being like a 9. They saw it all the way down into Mexico. And the excuse they came back with, the reason why was they said it flipped and it came from the south and not the north. But the point being was they didn't even realize it was going to be this powerful. They were predicting right before it happened it wasn't going to be that powerful. And so the interesting thing was that affected the sun. Now, again, history, you'd have to go back, and you'd have to go back in books, I'm sure.
We
But
were
according-
speaking. We were speaking when it was going on, and I told you, dude, I can see it. It's red, it's green, it's blue. That's nitrogen. I was like, dude, it was stronger than predicted, but by on space, it was a G4 severe storm. That's
But
how they're listing it.
what I'm saying is it was not only stronger, but it affected people. It affected me. I was not myself that day. I'm just telling you.
Dude,
I
you're
was
not the only-
dragging ass. And here was the even funnier thing. I have 3 young cats in the house. They slept the entire day. They've never done that. They did not. All they did was eat and sleep. There was something going on that day from the sun was affecting, and supposedly, and that's the sun is what triggered the Great Flood. That's what I've been told was the flood was triggered by the sun. Never mind. Remember, it's been so much news that a comet appeared in front of it, and it just disappeared again.
Yeah, they said it came. This is what I read, that it came from the Oort cloud. It's still considered interstellar, but it came from the Oort cloud. But I read another report that they're concerned on the entry points of these interstellar objects, especially within our own Milky Way, where other stars and planets exist, that this can continue, and we can be in threat of a potential future interstellar object with colliding with Earth. Specifically in this study, it was the equator. I was like, what? What's going on?
Well, the other thing is allegedly, and I haven't followed up on it. There's another object behind 3i now. This showed up in front of it, and then there's an object from behind it now. So I don't know. I mean, it just getting back to the green bell,
Yes.
to Veritas Obscura. It part of the story, as you said, you're starting to understand it better as far as we're going along. There's something that comes in and affects the people that need to remember. It activates certain things on Earth. It creates an effect on Earth, and people start to remember what they forgot.
But is it memories, lost memories of our past? And is it activated by a frequency, or is it something that's embedded in each and every one of us in our DNA?
It's not in everybody. Not everybody's going to be able to have it. It's you have the opportunity to change, but certain people have more abilities than others.
Well, that's like in anything else. You might have a higher awareness, or you might be skilled in one area. Another person has a skill in a different area. We all have, our attributes to ourselves that we hone in on. But so it sounds like it's going to be where people have to make a choice on which direction they want to see themselves go.
Individually and humanity has to make a choice.
That's exactly what I was just going to say.
Because we're coming to that defining moment, but you also have to say that what created us is it's time to move on. It's time for us to move forward in a positive way because we're no longer doing that. If we don't do it, we're doomed.
But you also hear a lot of people that they claim they're experiencers, and they get these messages saying that if we don't turn it around, whether they use climate change or whatever it is, whatever politically, whatever, that there's going to be some type of an intervention, and they're going to help us change. You know that that's out there. You know that there are people that put that out there. So this almost has a similarity, not exactly the same, but there needs to be some, and in a religious aspect, it's divine intervention. If like me, I'm a
Yeah,
Catholic.
but if you really go back to the religious aspect of the Bible, the divine intervention means we're going to be destroyed. You're going to either go upstairs and the rapture is going to happen and you're going to go before it starts, or if you don't go up there, you're going to go through 7 years of hell. So, I mean, that's not an intervention. That's basically the rubber hits the road, dude. You're not welcome. Goodbye, and you're going to live in hell. You know what I mean?
So you don't think right now we're at a course that it's going to hit the fan, and wherever the dust settles, that's how we move and evolve as a species.
Well, I mean, okay, if you go to the Hopi prophecy, the Hopi prophecy lists some things that would happen that would happen that would lead to the next evolution, and part of it's losing your way, and we've lost our way in so many different ways, and we don't have, and I say we because there are a lot of good people out there.
I know what you mean. Humanity in whole.
Humanity as a whole is no longer the way it's been. It's changed, and it's not good. It's evil. Evil is overtaking.
Wait, hold on. If you continue that, doesn't technology have a part to blame in that?
I mean, it could, because a lot of people out there, because there's been so much thrown at us in the last decade, a lot of people felt 5G was going to trigger a lot of this. And if you go back and you look at 5G came online about 8 years ago, 5 years ago, 6 years ago. I'll probably be wrong. But about the time 5G became active around the country is when a lot of crazy shit started happening.
But even the evolution and the creation of the internet, how that changed a lot of this, the landscape of how things have moved so fast in the last 20, 25 years, even 30 years. When I remember Windows 95, how it's just grown, and a lot of it is used maliciously. You have a lot of fake stuff, AI now. Now that's a big deal with the AI part of it. It seems like the technology, especially with the AI factor, and you mentioned the non-human. This looks like this could be where we really start to go down.
Well, a lot of people are starting to say NHI is the devil. There's more and more people starting to say
heard that too.
They are starting to point that NHI is the devil. All I'm saying, Bill, is you're right. It's been a lot of different things.
It is.
But when 5G came online, and we could Google it right now and we could know. But about the time it came online, remember the Vegas shooting?
Yes.
That they had a 5G a satellite dish out there. They've had the people. We've gone from maybe an argumentative society to a angry, combative society.
Yes, I agree.
And that's all happened since 2016. That all started at about 16 or 17. And
how do we pull the brakes back?
That's part of technology. We have to either get rid of it or we're probably going to destroy ourselves. We don't need the aliens to come down here to destroy us. We'll destroy ourselves.
No. The thing that concerns me is always, and I am not a conspiracy theorist type of person, but I'm always concerned that there could be some type of a false flag event. That's one.
Sure.
A wag the dog moment. Two. But what if they, and I don't want to say, I'm being hypothetical, if by some reason everything got shut down, like the earth stood still type of deal.
Well, yeah, but that would just mean that most of us would kill each other. I mean, the elite, if it was planned, would have their bunkers. I mean, you have to ask why all the billionaires are building bunkers, and they're building certain areas to go to. You have to ask why there's certain things going on with bunkers being activated and new facilities being built for government officials. Though I don't think most of them think they'll probably survive it. They won't. There'll be very few. The people that will survive it will be the rich and the smart people, the engineers and stuff. It won't be the everyday common day Joe, even the politicians. You'll have some doctors, obviously, but it'll be mostly engineers, people with that type of, yeah. And you know, and because once you get to the point where the robotics can do most of the work, and that's the other thing that people, I think it's starting to catch people's eye a little bit. AI's going to eliminate a lot of jobs.
Oh, for sure.
What are they going to do with the people if it can't work anymore?
No doubt about that. It's definitely going to affect the workforce. I mean, I don't see how it doesn't. I mean, it's going to obviously, and it's going to be less expensive, you know, just to do it that way. But Genghis brings up this point in chat. Google says it came out commercially in 2019 for public use, 5G. But however, that's the public use. It was probably used by the military years prior.
Right. And what my point was too was it came out, but it wasn't until most of them were activated. In other words, they started doing it in larger cities and they branched out everywhere. And the point being is there's a network now. I think the big carriers cover 98% of the country with it. So that's the last few years has been when things have started become combative. Think about it, right? It came out, and then right after that was COVID. Then we had the Summer of Love, and it's been nothing but combative since. And a lot of these things that people are fighting for don't make any sense.
And they're going crazy. Look at the market. Look what's driving everything right now. AI. A lot.
Right. It is. It is technology is driving the market.
But power, greed, control. Is it connected? It seems like it is, John. AI.
Yeah, but here's the scary part, Bill. What's going to happen to us?
Exactly.
They don't need us anymore. We're not needed anymore. And that's where you've got the people that the ancient astronauts or whatever, these guys that supposedly are experts in this, they basically, you know, they come around and say that this civilization came here and seeded Earth to get some of our commodities. We evolved, and they either died or left or both. And then we've evolved, but we're at the point now where we don't need the population anymore. And also, the Earth can't sustain itself based on the population that we have. So forget about if the aliens are coming for a minute, 3-Eye Atlas, the Greenville. We're coming to a point probably in the next decade where there's a good chance 40% of the civilization is not even going to be needed anymore. What's going to happen? What's going to happen?
Yep. Before we wrap this show, I do want to ask you any update about your books. You said November. Well, we're mid-November now, dude.
Yeah, Veritas Oscura of the Greenville. It's going to be available. It's 145 pages. You can read it from cover to cover. And it'll be available for pre-order on, I think it's December 21st. I should have wrote that down. And if you pre-order, you'll be shipped to you by December 28th. That I know for sure, the 28th. Okay. The Project Rentals from Crossing the Threshold, Weaponization of UAPs, that will be available on December 1st for pre-order, and available, it'll be shipped if you pre-order on the 1st by the 8th. You'll get it by the 8th. So the obviously the sci-fi one is the one we've been talking about, and it's I feel, and I don't feel like I'm a person that's clairvoyant or whatever necessarily. All I'm saying is this is how I wrote it, and something drove me to write it this way.
You're talking about this?
Yes, the Greenville. And there's a strong message in it, Bill. I mean, let's talk about that for a couple of minutes.
I agree.
Tell me what's blown you away by the message. Tell me what you're getting out of it.
a profound moment for the future betterment for humanity. A way for that, because like I said, I'm starting to like put this together. How I really cannot wait for that Christmas Eve episode, the final one, because to me, this is what brings everyone together in harmony and peace.
Well, yeah, but okay, if you think about this, Bill, just take a deep breath, forget about all the chaos right now, and the people that are listening, think about this. What is probably the one of the most 24-hour periods where things are the most peaceful and people get along?
When I'm sleeping.
Well, 24. Okay, usually from about noon on Christmas Eve
Oh, yes, yes.
to Christmas evening.
Mass, midnight mass. All that.
Midnight mass.
Oh, for
People
sure.
all come together. They have a Christmas Eve dinner. They go to midnight mass. They worship the Lord. More people go to church, I think, Christmas Eve than any other day. I think, or Christmas Day, whatever. I know there's a lot of people that go on Easter and Good Friday, but I think Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, you put them together, is the highest amount of people that go. The whole month of December usually is pretty peaceful. You know, there's a lot of parties, get-togethers. People go to church more, choirs, sing-alongs, giving and stuff. So, but the culminates on Christmas. World War II was paused, and World War I was paused on Christmas. There was a ceasefire for 24 hours.
Yeah.
So it's the most peaceful time.
Yeah.
And then we go back to the chaos again.
Yeah. It's funny you say that, though. Even when you go out, if you go even walking out on Christmas Eve and you're doing some late minute shopping or errand running,
Yeah.
everybody's like in a positive smile on their face, cheery mood. You know, you hear the laughing, like everybody you could actually visibly see people being happy from all walks of life, whatever. And
it's the biggest month for charity giving and everything else.
it is. And you can actually see it. You could feel that energy. You could actually sense it. But then, like you said, it's even after New Year's. That's when the crash happens. After New Year's Day, then everybody's thinking, oh, man, now I got to get through this long winter. And it's back to this bullshit. I don't want to say the word, but back to the BS. It goes right back. It doesn't last. Like you said, the month of December, then it comes right back. The chaos and then you're right.
But the best day is Christmas Eve. I've always felt like
I agree.
About noon on Christmas Eve till noon or early evening Christmas night, it's just harmonic.
I agree. 100%.
Yeah, and everything. And this is based off of the lead up to Christmas and the effects on how we can change. It'll eventually be laid out in the next. I think it was 18. I think you've already seen it.
I stumbled on it and I cheated and I was like, oh my gosh, this is it.
This time is the most important time.
Anyway, before we wrap this up, I want to say thank you for everybody for tuning in, whether you're watching or listening. But before we wrap, I definitely want to give out the credits to the person behind the scenes that makes this all happen too. And that's Keith Kerlock. Check out his site here, bcss.rocks. And of course, Rose City Sound Project on YouTube. You can see it there at Rose City Sound Project. John, any closing thoughts before we wrap it up?
Just, I hope this is the whole series is important, but I hope these next few episodes maybe get people to stop and take a deep breath that'll watch it and maybe think about how they can affect themselves and others around them, because it's got to build. It's not something that, I mean, Christmas Eve is important, don't get me wrong, and it's the best day. But if people would start thinking positive and try to think of the good in humanity themselves instead of be driven by evil and hate, things could maybe get a little better, I hope. Because I think something's going to happen in the next few years. It's going to define humanity. And right now, it doesn't look like it's going the right way.
I totally agree with you. And somehow we need to just come together, and despite our differences and all that, but we need to find a way to come together and, you know, be, like you said, it's about our moving forward, our evolution, humanity, for the betterment, for the whole, for all of us moving forward. Because like you said, there's a sense, I think, by many that we're not heading in the right direction. So,
Oh, we're definitely not. We can debate all the other stuff till
that's
but this, no one can sit there with a straight face and tell me right now humanity's in great shape right now. I mean, the environment, according to everybody's falling apart. We want to kill each other. We're at each other's throats.
Let's not sugarcoat it, John. Let's just
it's not going well right now.
it's
And whatever the man upstairs or woman or binary being created us, I can't believe they're sitting down here and looking at us with a happy smile right now. And if I was in charge, my patience would be growing thin. That's all I'm telling you right now. We're running out of time, people, and I hope we can change.
All right.
And I hope this plays a little part. And Bill, I got to give you credit for doing this every Saturday night. So there's people that can listen to this.
Well,
without you, it wouldn't be out there. So.
But it's an honor and a pleasure to be here with you and Chris DeParno when he's on, and the others, and all those in the audience. And
I can't wait till Padre comes on for one.
Oh, we got to get him on next week because it's really going to start up.
Yeah.
All right, folks, we are out of here to Rafe, and I see Rafe and Genghis and everybody else chatting in the chat rooms. All those.
Thanks for joining us, guys.
Yes, have a great rest of your weekend. We'll see you next week. Don't forget Thursday, 5:30 p.m. Eastern on all the audio and the video platforms. You should know where that is if you've been following the series. If not, go to the YouTube and catch up to all the episodes because it is now time. It is now time leading up to Christmas. So for John Burroughs and myself, all of you have a great night, and we shall see you next week. Good night.